Have you ever met a man who seemed completely captivated by one woman? Not because she was the most beautiful or even the most outgoing, but because there was something different about the way he connected with her. What makes a man emotionally attached to one woman and not another? That's the question most people never really figure out. We often assume it's about physical attraction, shared interests, or timing. But in reality, emotional attachment runs much deeper. It's something that happens quietly beneath the surface, often without either person realizing it's happening, until it's too late to ignore. Here's the truth. A man doesn't fall for a woman because she's perfect. He falls because she makes him feel something that no one else does. She triggers his emotional safety, his sense of belonging, and his desire to protect, provide, and connect on a deeper level. When a woman taps into that emotional core, it's not just attraction anymore, it's attachment. It's the reason he thinks about her when he wakes up. It's why he can't move on easily, even if he tries. In this video, we're going to uncover what creates that deep emotional imprint, the kind that makes a man not just love a woman, but choose her over and over again. So if you've ever wondered why some women effortlessly capture a man's heart while others fade into memory, stay with me. Because by the end of this video, you'll understand the psychology of attachment and how to inspire a genuine emotional bond that lasts. When we talk about what makes a man emotionally bond with a woman, we have to look beyond surface behavior and step into the psychology driving it. Most men grow up learning to suppress emotion. They're taught to be strong, logical, and in control. But beneath that conditioning lies a deep biological need for connection, safety, and understanding. The difference is that men often don't have the emotional language to express it. So instead of saying, "I feel close to you," they show it through consistency, effort, and the way they make space for someone in their life. A man's emotional attachment begins forming when he feels emotionally safe. This isn't about constant validation or flattery. It's about trust. When he feels that he can open up without being judged, mocked, or rejected, his guard starts to drop. That's when attachment begins. For men, emotional intimacy is built in silence, in shared moments, in the way a woman listens, in the calm energy she brings when he's stressed or uncertain. He bonds with the person who doesn't demand his vulnerability but invites it naturally. Another core aspect of male emotional bonding lies in identity reinforcement. A man becomes emotionally tied to the woman who makes him feel like the best version of himself, not through praise alone but through the way she believes in him. When she respects his efforts, recognizes his intentions, and values his presence, it activates his instinct to protect and commit. That emotional feedback loop becomes powerful. He invests more, feels more, and attaches more deeply. Psychologically, this connection is linked to the brain's reward system. When a man associates a woman with emotional relief, comfort, and security, his brain releases dopamine and oxytocin, the same chemicals tied to attachment and trust. Over time, her presence becomes a source of emotional stability, not just excitement. And once that link is formed, it's incredibly difficult to break. So emotional attachment for men isn't a mystery. It's a combination of emotional safety, mutual respect, and consistent reassurance. It's not about grand gestures. It's about the feeling of "I'm understood here." That's the invisible thread that ties a man's heart to one woman, quietly, powerfully, and often permanently. What truly makes a man feel safe with one woman isn't something flashy or complicated. It's not about playing hard to get, being perfect, or following rules from dating books. It's something deeper, something emotional, invisible, and incredibly powerful. When a man feels emotionally safe with a woman, it unlocks a part of him that most people never see. It allows him to be real, unguarded, and authentic. For most men, safety isn't about control. It's about trust. It's knowing that he can show his flaws, his fears, even his confusion, without being made to feel small or weak. Many men carry emotional armor from years of being told not to feel, not to cry, not to show vulnerability. So when he meets a woman who doesn't demand perfection but accepts the man behind the mask, it's profoundly disarming. She becomes a place of peace in a world that constantly demands performance. Emotional safety starts in the small things: how she listens, how she reacts, and how she holds space when he's not at his best. It's the difference between someone who criticizes and someone who understands. When a man shares something personal and she responds with empathy instead of judgment, his nervous system relaxes. That single moment can shift how deeply he trusts her. He begins to associate her presence with calm rather than pressure, with warmth instead of conflict. That's when emotional attachment quietly begins to grow roots. Another key factor in emotional safety is predictability. It doesn't mean boring, it means consistency. A man feels safe when he knows where he stands, when he can count on emotional stability rather than emotional chaos. When affection isn't used as a weapon, and love isn't given or withdrawn based on control, he feels secure enough to invest more of himself. Men crave emotional peace, they just rarely admit it. When a woman offers that, it feels rare, almost sacred. Respect also plays a major role. A man doesn't need constant praise, but he deeply values respect, not just for what he does, but for who he is. When she sees his effort, even if it's imperfect, and doesn't compare him to others or diminish him, it reinforces his emotional confidence. He feels seen, valued, and safe to keep showing up as himself. Finally, what makes a man feel truly safe is emotional honesty. Pretending, testing, or playing games only fuels insecurity. But a woman who communicates directly, shares her needs clearly, and stays genuine, becomes a safe emotional mirror. He knows what's real, and that reliability becomes magnetic. When you combine empathy, respect, consistency, and honesty, you create emotional safety, the foundation of lasting attachment. In that safety, a man stops performing, he stops pretending, he simply is. And in that rare space of calm connection, he doesn't just stay, he chooses to stay. Every single day. Emotional connection is fragile. It's built slowly, through trust and small moments of honesty. But it can be destroyed almost instantly by misunderstanding, insecurity, or emotional habits that push intimacy away. Many women don't realize that the very things they do to get closer to a man can actually drive him further away. These mistakes don't come from malice, they come from fear. Fear of losing him, fear of not being enough, or fear of being hurt first. But when fear takes the wheel, connection begins to crumble. One of the most common mistakes is emotional overreach, trying to pull feelings out of him before he's ready to express them. It often shows up as constant reassurance seeking. Do you still love me? Why haven't you texted? Are you mad at me? While these questions may seem innocent, to a man, they can feel like pressure. When a man feels emotionally cornered, his instinct is to retreat, not because he doesn't care, but because he doesn't feel safe being open on command. Emotional connection grows best in space, not control. Another mistake is invalidating his emotions, even unintentionally. Men are often slower to process feelings, and when they do share, they want to feel heard, not fixed. If he opens up and the response is criticism, sarcasm, or comparison, like you're overreacting, or other men don't act like that, he learns to shut down. Every time that happens, he withdraws a little more. True connection can't exist without emotional safety, and once that safety is broken, rebuilding it takes time and patience. A subtle but powerful connection killer is emotional inconsistency. One day being affectionate and understanding, and the next being cold or dismissive, confuses him. Men crave emotional stability, not drama or guessing games. When emotions swing unpredictably, he stops trusting the bond. He stops feeling safe to invest emotionally, because he doesn't know what version of you he'll get next. Then there's the issue of comparison and competition. Mentioning exes, comparing him to other men, or even hinting that he's not enough chips away at his confidence. It doesn't motivate him to do better. It makes him feel like he's already failed. Once a man starts feeling inadequate, he disconnects emotionally to protect his ego. Lastly, withholding affection or communication as punishment is one of the quickest ways to destroy connection. Emotional games create resentment. Silence may get attention, but it doesn't earn respect. When communication turns into control, love turns into tension. The truth is, emotional connection thrives on understanding, not power struggles. When love becomes about proving points or testing loyalty, intimacy fades. But when both people lead with empathy, when mistakes turn into learning instead of blame, that's when the emotional bond becomes unbreakable. Real love doesn't need control, it just needs consistency, compassion, and trust. The way you communicate can make or break emotional connection. Trust isn't built through big promises or perfect words. It's built in the tone, the timing, and the intention behind what you say. Most people talk to be heard. Very few talk to be understood. But when you communicate in a way that makes a man feel seen, valued, and respected, you build a kind of trust that words alone could never replace. Here's the truth. Men open up to women who make conversation feel safe, not strategic. When you talk to him from a place of curiosity rather than confrontation, everything changes. Instead of saying, "Why don't you ever talk about your feelings?" Try, "I'd love to understand what's on your mind lately. I'm here when you're ready." That small shift removes pressure and invites honesty. He doesn't feel interrogated. He feels invited in. Another key to building trust through communication is listening to understand, not to respond. Many people listen while already preparing their reply. But genuine listening, the kind where you stay quiet, maintain soft eye contact, and really take in what he's saying, creates emotional gravity. It makes him feel like his words matter. And when a man feels heard, he naturally wants to open up more. Consistency in communication is also crucial. Mixed signals or emotional ups and downs send the message that he can't rely on you emotionally. That unpredictability kills trust. When you stay grounded, even during disagreements, it signals maturity and emotional control. He sees that conflict doesn't mean disconnection, and that strengthens the emotional bridge between you. Another powerful but often overlooked part of trust building is validation. That doesn't mean agreeing with everything he says, but acknowledging his feelings as real and valid. If he's upset, instead of saying, "You're overreacting," try, "I can see why that would bother you." Those small affirmations build emotional security. They show empathy, and empathy is the foundation of lasting connection. Also, pay attention to nonverbal communication. Your tone, expressions, and energy speak louder than any words. If your body language says "I'm closed off" while your words say "I'm fine," he feels the disconnect. Communication isn't just verbal, it's emotional transparency. And here's something most people miss. Vulnerability builds trust faster than perfection ever could. When you share your own fears, insecurities, or lessons learned, you show him that he doesn't need to hide his either. It turns the relationship from performance into partnership. So if you want to communicate in a way that builds trust, remember this: speak with honesty, listen with empathy, and respond with calm. Don't try to win arguments, try to understand each other. Trust doesn't grow in loud conversations, it grows in the quiet moments where both people feel emotionally safe to be real. That's where true connection begins. Sometimes it's not the grand gestures that make a man fall deeply in love. It's the quiet, consistent behaviors that speak directly to his heart. Emotional investment doesn't happen when he's impressed. It happens when he feels something real. And often it's the smallest, subtlest actions that leave the biggest emotional imprint. One of the most powerful ways to deepen a man's emotional investment is presence. When you're truly present with him, not distracted by your phone, not half listening, but genuinely engaged, it sends a message: you matter. In a world full of noise, undivided attention feels rare and intimate. That sense of focus tells him he's valued, and men remember how you make them feel far longer than what you say. Another subtle behavior that strengthens connection is emotional steadiness. Men attach to women who bring peace into their lives. When your energy is calm, consistent, and nurturing, it becomes a refuge. He begins to associate you with safety, the person he can turn to when life gets chaotic. It's not about never feeling upset or emotional, it's about handling emotions with grace and honesty instead of volatility. Emotional stability is one of the most magnetic traits a woman can offer. Respecting his individuality is another quiet yet powerful way to make him invest emotionally. When you encourage his goals, support his passions, and don't try to change or control him, it shows confidence and emotional maturity. You're telling him, "I like who you are as you are." That acceptance deepens his trust. Men bond most strongly with the woman who makes them feel both free and understood at the same time. Small gestures of appreciation also carry immense weight. A simple "I noticed how hard you're trying" or "I love the way you handled that" can mean more than grand declarations of love. It reminds him that you see his effort, and that emotional acknowledgement fuels his motivation to give even more to the relationship. Another subtle but impactful behavior is emotional attunement, sensing when he's off without prying or demanding answers. Sometimes it's saying, "I can tell something's on your mind. I'm here when you want to talk." That gentle awareness builds trust. He realizes he doesn't have to explain himself all the time because you get him on a deeper level. And perhaps one of the most overlooked ways to deepen emotional investment is through genuine joy. When you're confident, playful, and bring light-hearted energy into moments together, it reminds him that love can feel easy. Men are drawn to women whose presence feels like emotional oxygen, steady, uplifting, and real. Over time, these small, subtle behaviors weave a powerful emotional thread. They make him not just want to stay, but choose to stay, to protect, to nurture, and to love you more deeply every single day. When it comes to building a lasting emotional connection with a man, the truth is beautifully simple. It's not about control, strategy, or perfection. It's about emotional authenticity. Connection that endures is built on a foundation of trust, safety, and mutual understanding. And while attraction may bring two people together, it's emotional depth that keeps them there. The first key takeaway is that emotional safety is everything. A man will only attach deeply to a woman who makes him feel safe enough to be vulnerable. That means creating a space where honesty is welcomed, not punished. When he feels he can be his true self, imperfect, uncertain, and human, without being judged or criticized, his heart naturally opens. That's where real intimacy begins. The second lesson is consistency. Emotional connection doesn't survive chaos. It thrives on predictability, reliability, and sincerity. When your actions match your words and your affection remains steady through ups and downs, it teaches him that your love is trustworthy. Consistency becomes proof of care, not through promises, but through patterns. Another essential takeaway is respect. Respect is the heartbeat of emotional attraction. It's not just about admiring him, it's about showing appreciation for who he is at his core. When you respect his feelings, his pace, and his individuality, he feels seen and valued, not for what he provides, but for who he is. That kind of emotional respect is what keeps love alive even when chemistry fades or challenges appear. Communication, too, is a pillar of emotional connection. The way you express yourself, with empathy, honesty, and emotional awareness, determines the strength of your bond. Arguments aren't what destroy relationships. It's how those arguments are handled. When both people focus on understanding each other instead of winning, every conflict becomes an opportunity to grow closer. Another key element is emotional generosity. Small acts of kindness, thoughtful words, and moments of genuine affection carry tremendous power. A simple touch, a look, a thank you. These quiet gestures remind him that love doesn't need to be loud to be real. And perhaps the most profound takeaway is this: emotional connection lasts when it feels natural, not forced. Love that endures isn't about constantly proving feelings. It's about maintaining a flow of trust, curiosity, and care. When you give him room to be himself while showing up authentically as you, the connection evolves from attraction to partnership. In the end, building a lasting emotional bond is about two people choosing each other, not out of need, but from mutual respect and genuine affection. It's about being the calm in each other's storms, the soft place to land, and the reminder that real love feels peaceful, not complicated. That's what keeps a man emotionally attached, not for a moment, but for a lifetime. When we talk about love and emotional connection, it's easy to get lost in strategies, rules, and endless advice. But at its core, a strong, lasting relationship isn't about doing everything right. It's about showing up with realness. It's about two people choosing every day to understand rather than to judge, to listen rather than to react, and to stay curious about each other even after the initial excitement fades. The truth is, relationships are living, breathing things. They require care, attention, and honesty to thrive. Emotional connection isn't built in one conversation or one romantic gesture. It's built in the quiet, consistent moments that say, "I'm here, I see you, and you matter to me." That's what strengthens a bond over time. If you want to deepen your relationship and keep it strong, start by focusing on emotional presence. Be truly there when you're together, not distracted, not thinking about what to say next, but genuinely listening. Presence communicates love more powerfully than words ever could. It tells your partner that they are safe, valued, and understood. Another key to strengthening your relationship is forgiveness. No connection can survive without it. Both of you will make mistakes, misunderstand each other, and fall short sometimes. But forgiveness isn't about forgetting, it's about choosing compassion over resentment. It's saying, I value this relationship more than I value being right. That mindset keeps the emotional bridge intact, even when storms come. Gratitude also plays a massive role in sustaining emotional connection. The moment you stop noticing the small things, the effort, the affection, the simple ways your partner shows love, the relationship begins to fade. Express appreciation often, even for the everyday gestures. Gratitude is like emotional glue. It keeps your bond alive and vibrant. And don't underestimate the power of vulnerability. The more open and authentic you are about what you feel, the more space your partner has to do the same. Vulnerability isn't weakness, it's emotional courage. It's the act of saying, this is who I am, and I trust you enough to let you in. When both partners show up like that, the relationship moves beyond surface level love and becomes something sacred, a true emotional partnership. Finally, remember that love isn't a destination, it's a daily choice. It's choosing patience when you're frustrated, kindness when you're tired, and connection when distance tries to creep in. A lasting relationship isn't built on perfection, it's built on intention. Two people constantly growing, learning, and choosing each other again and again. So as we close this video, ask yourself, am I loving in a way that makes the other person feel safe, seen, and supported? Because that's what real love is. It's not about being flawless, it's about being real, being present, and being together.